Victoria Sterling threw a stack of ancient documents across the table and laughed in Marcus Johnson's face. $1 million. Right here, right now, if you, a janitor, can translate this. The room full of executives burst into laughter. Marcus didn't flinch. He picked up the first page, looked at the Babylonian script, and began reading aloud. The laughter died. Victoria's smile disappeared. What happened next would destroy a billion-dollar empire and expose a secret Victoria had buried for 6 months, a secret about Marcus's dead wife. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. Marcus Johnson hadn't slept in 3 days. He stood outside Global Link Translation Services at 7:47 a.m. holding his wife's old briefcase. The leather was cracked. One hinge was broken. He'd fixed it with duct tape because he couldn't afford a new one, and because Elena had carried this briefcase every day for 8 years. Elena had been dead for 6 months now. Cancer. The kind that moves fast and takes everything. Marcus took a breath and walked through the revolving door. The lobby was all marble and glass. Men in $1,000 suits crossed the floor like they owned the world. Women in designer heels clicked past without looking at him. Marcus made it exactly 4 steps before a security guard blocked his path. Sir, stop right there." Marcus stopped. The guard was young, maybe 25, with a badge that said Williams, and an expression that said he'd already made up his mind. "Can I help you?" "I have an appointment," Marcus said. "An appointment." Williams looked him up and down. The worn jacket, the shoes that had been resoled twice, the briefcase held together with tape. With who? Victoria Sterling. Williams laughed. Actually laughed. Loud enough that people in the lobby turned to look. "Victoria Sterling, the CEO." "That's correct." "And you are?" "Marcus Johnson." Williams pulled out his tablet, scrolling with exaggerated slowness. "I don't see any Marcus Johnson on today's schedule." "Check again. My wife made the appointment 3 weeks ago. Elena Johnson." Something flickered in Williams' eyes. Recognition, maybe. Or maybe just annoyance. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is a professional building. If you're looking for the service entrance..." "I'm not looking for the service entrance." "Sir, I said I have an appointment." Williams reached for his radio. "I'm calling backup." "That won't be necessary." The voice came from the curved staircase. A woman was descending, mid-40s, sharp eyes, gray suit that probably cost more than Marcus's car. "Dr. Morgan." Williams straightened up. "This man claims he has an appointment with Ms. Sterling." "He does." Rachel Morgan reached the bottom of the stairs. "I scheduled it myself." Williams's face went red. I didn't see it on the system." "That's because it's a private meeting, not your concern." Rachel turned to Marcus. Her expression was unreadable. "Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming." "Thank you for seeing me." "Follow me." Marcus walked past Williams without looking at him. He could feel the guard's eyes burning into his back, but he didn't care. He'd felt those eyes his whole life. The elevator doors closed. Rachel pressed the button for the 24th floor. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then Rachel said quietly, "Your wife was Elena Johnson." "Yes." "She was brilliant. One of the best translators we ever had." Marcus's throat tightened. "I know. When she died..." Rachel paused. "The company sent flowers." "I remember." Marcus remembered everything about those flowers. The expensive arrangement that had arrived 2 days after the funeral. The generic card signed Global Link Family. Elena had given this company 8 years of her life, worked through chemotherapy, translated documents, while hooked up to IV drips, and they'd sent flowers. Flowers didn't pay for funerals. Flowers didn't pay for the medical bills, still piling up. Flowers didn't explain why Elena's final project had disappeared from the company's servers the day after she died. "Dr. Morgan," Marcus said, "I need to ask you something." "Yes." "Did you know what my wife was working on before she died?" Rachel's jaw tightened. That's something you should discuss with Ms. Sterling. The elevator opened. The 24th floor was everything Marcus expected, and nothing he wanted. Glass walls. Original artwork. A view of Seattle that probably cost more per square foot than his entire apartment. Rachel led him down a hallway lined with photographs. Victoria Sterling shaking hands with presidents. Victoria Sterling at the UN. Victoria Sterling receiving awards that Elena had helped her win. Marcus's hands clenched around the briefcase handle. The conference room doors opened. It was massive. A table that could seat 20, floor-to-ceiling windows. And at the head of the table, surrounded by executives and lawyers, sat Victoria Sterling. She was exactly what Marcus expected. Mid-50s silver hair, perfectly styled, wearing a suit that cost more than his annual salary. She looked at Marcus the way someone looks at something stuck to their shoe. "So," Victoria said, "this is Elena's husband." The dismissal in her voice was absolute, not even worth hiding. "My name is Marcus Johnson." "I know your name." Victoria waved a hand. "Sit down. Let's get this over with." Marcus sat. He placed Elena's briefcase on the table. 6 pairs of eyes tracked the movement. "You wanted to meet," Victoria said. "You're meeting. What do you want?" "I want to discuss my wife's work." "Your wife's work belongs to Global Link. Anything she created while employed here is company property." "Not if she created it at home, on her own time, with her own resources." Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly. "Go on." Marcus opened the briefcase. Inside were folders, notebooks, flash drives, everything Elena had left behind. "For the last 2 years of her life, my wife was developing a translation algorithm, a completely new approach to decoding ancient languages. She worked on it at night on weekends during her chemotherapy sessions." Marcus's voice cracked slightly on the last word. He steadied himself. "She documented everything, every hour, every date, every resource she used. None of it was on company time." He pushed a folder across the table. Victoria didn't touch it. "Even if that's true," Victoria said, "your wife is dead. Any intellectual property would belong to her estate. Her estate assigned the rights to me." Marcus produced a legal document. Notarized and witnessed. "This algorithm belongs to me." One of the lawyers leaned forward. "We'll need to verify." "Verify whatever you want." Marcus cut him off. "I have documentation going back 2 years. Every line of code time-stamped, every note dated. My wife knew exactly what she was building, and she knew you would try to take it." Victoria's expression flickered, just for a moment, but Marcus caught it. "What exactly do you think this algorithm is worth?" Victoria asked. $20 million. The room went silent. "Excuse me?" "I had a computer science professor at the university look at the code. He said it was revolutionary, that companies would pay at least 20 million, probably more." Victoria leaned back in her chair. That smile appeared the one Marcus had seen in photographs. Cold, calculating. "Mr. Johnson, do you know what I see when I look at you?" Marcus didn't answer. "I see a janitor, a man who cleans office buildings at night, a man whose wife felt sorry enough for him to teach him a few words of Latin, a man who thinks he can walk into my company and demand $20 million. I'm not demanding anything. I'm offering to sell you something valuable." "Valuable." Victoria laughed. The executives laughed with her. "What you have is a dead woman's hobby project, notes and dreams and half-finished code." "My wife wasn't dreaming. She was working." "Your wife was dying." Victoria's voice went sharp. "Dying people do desperate things. Write letters. Make plans they'll never finish. Leave behind messes for other people to clean up." Marcus's hands trembled. "Don't talk about my wife like that." "I'll talk about her however I want. She was my employee. She was a human being. She was a translator who got cancer and became a liability. Victoria stood, placing both hands on the table. I tried to be compassionate. I kept her on the payroll longer than I should have. I let her work from home when she couldn't make it to the office. And how does her husband repay that kindness? By walking in here demanding $20 million for her algorithm. The algorithm exists. It works. Prove it. The word hung in the air. What? Prove it. Victoria smiled wider. You say your wife created something revolutionary. You say it's worth $20 million. Prove it to me. Right here. Right now. How? Victoria reached into a folder beside her and pulled out a thick document. She slid it across the table. This is the Morrison document. It was discovered in Iraq in 1987. 9 pages of text from 9 different ancient civilizations. 9 dead languages, some of which haven't been spoken in 3,000 years. Marcus looked at the pages. Symbols he didn't recognize. Scripts that looked like art more than writing. My entire translation department has been working on this for 6 months, Victoria continued. We've translated maybe 30%. If your wife's algorithm is so revolutionary, if it really does what you claim, then you should be able to translate this. I'm not a professional translator. No, you're a janitor. Victoria's smile turned cruel. But your wife taught you, didn't she? Every night. Every weekend. That's what you said. Marcus stared at the document. I'll tell you what, Victoria said. I'll make it interesting. If you can translate this document all 9 languages, I'll give you $1 million. Cash. Today. The executives stirred. Victoria, Rachel said, this isn't appropriate. I'll decide what's appropriate in my own company. Victoria didn't look at Rachel. Her eyes were fixed on Marcus. $1 million. All you have to do is prove your wife's work was real. And if I can't, then you leave. You stop harassing my company with these ridiculous claims. You sign an NDA and you never speak of this algorithm again. Marcus looked at the Morrison document, at the ancient symbols, at Elena's briefcase full of notes. Elena had taught him. Every night after dinner. Every weekend morning. She'd started with Latin, moved to Greek, then to the ancient languages she loved most. Babylonian, Egyptian, Sanskrit. She'd said that language was a gift, the greatest gift she could give him. She's already dead, she'd told him once near the end. Cancer's going to take me no matter what. But what I'm putting in your head, nobody can take that. Ever. How much time do I have? Marcus asked. Victoria checked her watch. 1 hour. That's not enough. It's what I'm offering. Marcus thought about Maya. 8 years old. Asking every night when Mommy was coming home, even though Mommy was never coming home again. He thought about the medical bills, the funeral costs, the rent he was 3 months behind on. He thought about Elena working until 3 a.m. while hooked up to a chemotherapy drip, believing she was building something that would take care of her family after she was gone. Deal, Marcus said. Victoria's smile widened. Excellent. Let's make it public, shall we? She picked up her phone and sent a text. Within minutes, the conference room began to fill. Junior translators, senior executives, administrative staff. Someone set up a camera in the corner. What's this? Marcus asked. Witnesses. You wanted to prove your wife's work was real. Now you can prove it in front of everyone. Marcus understood. This wasn't a test. This was a public execution. Victoria wanted to humiliate him in front of her entire company to prove once and for all that Elena's algorithm was worthless, and that Marcus Johnson was nothing but a janitor who'd gotten ideas above his station. The room filled with people. 30, 40, 50. Victoria stood at the head of the table like a queen addressing her court. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Today we have a special guest. She gestured at Marcus, like he was a circus act. This is Marcus Johnson, husband of the late Elena Johnson, who some of you may remember from our ancient languages department. Murmurs, a few sympathetic glances. Mostly curiosity. Mr. Johnson claims that his wife developed a revolutionary translation algorithm. He believes it's worth $20 million. Victoria paused for effect. I've offered him a simple test. Translate the Morrison document, the one we've been struggling with for 6 months, and I'll give him $1 million. Laughter rippled through the room. He has 1 hour, starting... Victoria checked her watch. Now. Marcus opened Elena's briefcase. His hands were steady. Inside were her notebooks, years of research on language patterns, phonetic relationships, grammatical structures. He pulled out the primary notebook, the one she'd been working on when she died. He looked at the Morrison document. 9 languages. 9 civilizations. Thousands of years of human history compressed into 9 pages. Marcus picked up the first page and began to read. In the 3rd year of King Hammurabi's reign. The room went silent. The priests of Babylon gathered to record the wisdom of the ancients. They wrote in clay what they could not trust to memory, knowing that empires fall, but words endure. Someone whispered, "That's Babylonian Akkadian." Marcus kept reading. He moved to the 2nd section, Ancient Egyptian Hieroglyphics, and translated it without pause. The Pharaoh commands that this knowledge be preserved. Let it pass from scribe to scribe, from temple to temple, until the end of days. The whispers grew louder. How is he doing this? Is he reading from notes? No, look, he's translating in real time. Marcus moved to the 3rd section, Ancient Greek, then Sanskrit, then Old Persian. The executives at the table had stopped smiling. One of them, a man named David Park, was checking Marcus's translations against a database on his laptop. His face went pale. He's right, David said. Every single word. Victoria's expression hadn't changed, but Marcus could see the tension in her shoulders. This wasn't supposed to happen. Continue, Victoria said. Marcus translated the 6th section, Classical Syriac. He could hear Elena's voice in his head guiding him through the grammar. Syriac is like a bridge, Marcus. It connects ancient to medieval. You hear the patterns? He heard the patterns. The 7th section was Biblical Hebrew. The 8th was Aramaic. 45 minutes. 8 languages. Every word perfect. The room was completely silent now. No one was laughing. The camera in the corner was still recording. 1 section left, Marcus said. He looked at page 9. Ancient Sumerian, the oldest written language in human history. A dialect so rare that maybe 50 people in the world could read it fluently. Elena had been one of them. 15 minutes, Victoria said. Her voice had lost some of its confidence. Marcus studied the symbols. This was the hardest part. Even Elena had struggled with this particular dialect. 10 minutes. The patterns weren't clicking. Marcus could feel panic rising in his chest. 5 minutes. He closed his eyes. Remembered Elena sitting beside him pointing at symbols on a screen. Don't look at the words, Marcus. Look at the patterns between the words. Language isn't just vocabulary. It's rhythm. It's music. Marcus opened his eyes. 3 minutes. He started to see it. The connections between symbols. The grammatical structures hiding beneath the surface. 1 minute. Marcus opened his mouth. Stop. Victoria's hand slammed on the table. The sound echoed through the silent room. Marcus looked up. Time's up, Victoria said. The demonstration is over. I still have 1 minute. The demonstration is over. Victoria's voice was sharp, final. You failed to complete the translation. The deal was all 9 languages. You only finished 8. You cut me off. You ran out of time. Victoria smiled. That cold, cruel smile. You're talented, Mr. Johnson. I'll give you that. Your wife taught you well. But talent without results is worthless. She gathered the Morrison document. Security will escort you out. I trust we won't be hearing from you again. Marcus stood. His whole body was trembling with rage, with grief, with the unfairness of it all. I know what it says. Victoria paused. The Sumerian section. I know what it says. You didn't translate it. Because you stopped me. Marcus stepped forward. But I know what it says. Want to hear? Victoria's jaw tightened. The test is over. The greatest thieves are not those who take gold, but those who steal credit from the dead. For gold can be replaced, but a person's legacy, once stolen, is lost forever. The words echoed through the conference room. Marcus looked at Victoria. My wife translated that section 2 years ago. She highlighted it in her notes. I think she knew even then what you would try to do. Victoria's face was pale. Get out. I'm leaving. Marcus picked up Elena's briefcase. But this isn't over. He walked toward the door. The crowd parted for him like water. At the doorway, he turned back. One more thing. That algorithm my wife created, she uploaded a backup somewhere you'll never find it. And somewhere right now someone is watching this entire conversation. He pointed at the camera in the corner. You wanted witnesses. Now you have them. Marcus walked out. Behind him, Victoria Sterling stood frozen, realizing for the first time that she'd made a terrible mistake. The camera was still recording. And somewhere in that silent conference room, one of Victoria's own employees was about to upload a video that would change everything. Marcus made it 3 blocks before his legs gave out. He collapsed onto a bench outside the Seattle Public Library, rain soaking through his jacket. Elena's briefcase clutched against his chest like a lifeline. His hands were shaking. His whole body was shaking. He'd failed. 8 languages. He'd translated 8 languages perfectly, and it didn't matter. Victoria had stopped him before he could finish the 9th. She'd changed the rules because she knew that he could do it. And now it was over. Marcus stared at the briefcase. At the cracked leather and the duct tape holding it together. At the last thing Elena had touched before she died. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry, baby. I tried. His phone buzzed. Marcus ignored it. It buzzed again, and again, and again. He pulled it out of his pocket, ready to throw it in the nearest trash can, and stopped. 47 text messages, 32 missed calls. Most of them from numbers he didn't recognize. The most recent text was from Mrs. Chen, the neighbor who was watching Maya. Marcus, call me immediately. Something is happening. People are calling the house asking for you. What did you do? Marcus's stomach dropped. He opened his browser and typed his name into the search bar. The first result made his blood run cold. Billionaire CEO humiliates black janitor, then realizes he's a genius. The video had 2.3 million views. It had been posted 3 hours ago. Marcus pressed play with trembling fingers. The footage was shaky at first, clearly recorded on someone's phone from inside the conference room. But the audio was crystal clear. I'll give you $1 million if you can translate this. If you, a janitor, can do it. Victoria's voice dripped with contempt. The camera showed Marcus sitting at the table, Elena's briefcase in front of him. He looked small against the massive conference room surrounded by executives in expensive suits. Then he started translating. The video showed everything. 8 languages flowing from Marcus's lips like he'd spoken them his whole life. The expressions changing on the executives' faces from mockery to confusion to shock. David Park checking the translations and going pale. He's right. Every single word. And then Victoria's hand slamming on the table. Stop. Time's up. The demonstration is over. The comments section was exploding. This woman is evil. He was about to finish. I'm a linguistics professor at Stanford. What this man did is extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it. She stopped him on purpose. She knew he could do it. Justice for Marcus. Someone find this man. He needs a lawyer. Marcus scrolled down, his hands shaking harder with each comment. My father was a janitor. He worked 3 jobs to put me through college. This video makes me sick. The way she called him a janitor like he wasn't even human. I hope she loses everything. I just donated $500 to a GoFundMe someone started. This family needs help. A GoFundMe. Someone had started a GoFundMe. Marcus clicked the link. The fundraiser was 4 hours old and had already raised $127,000. His phone rang. Unknown number. Marcus answered anyway. Mr. Johnson, this is Jennifer Kim from Channel 7 News. I'm wondering if you'd be available for an interview about what happened today at Global Link. Marcus hung up. The phone rang again. Different number. Marcus Johnson, Robert Chen, attorney at law. I saw the video. I specialize in intellectual property cases, and I think you have grounds for... Marcus hung up again. The phone kept ringing. He turned it off. For a long moment, he just sat there in the rain trying to process what was happening. 3 hours ago, he'd been nobody. A janitor with a dead wife and a stack of medical bills. Now millions of people knew his name. And Victoria Sterling's empire was starting to crumble. Marcus. He looked up. Rachel Morgan stood on the sidewalk holding an umbrella. She wasn't wearing her corporate suit anymore, just jeans and a sweater like she'd changed in a hurry. She looked different, smaller, more human. How did you find me? Marcus asked. Your daughter's school is 4 blocks that way. The library is on the route. Lucky guess. Rachel sat down on the bench beside him, holding the umbrella over both of them. I wanted to apologize. For what? For what happened in that room. For standing there and letting Victoria humiliate you. For not saying something sooner. Marcus shook his head. You tried to stop her. Not hard enough. Rachel pulled out her phone. Have you seen the numbers? I've seen enough. 5 million views, and climbing. Rachel turned the screen toward him. It's the #1 trending topic on Twitter. CNN picked it up. So did NBC, ABC, Fox. Everyone's talking about it. Great. So now everyone knows I'm a janitor who failed a translation test. That's not what they see. Rachel's voice was firm. They see a man who translated 8 ancient languages in less than an hour. They see a billionaire CEO who rigged the rules because she knew she was going to lose. They see what they want to see. They see the truth, Marcus. Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time. Why are you here? Dr. Morgan Victoria's probably already seen this video. If she finds out you're talking to me... She already found out. Rachel laughed a short, bitter sound. She called me 45 minutes ago. I'm fired. Effective immediately. 22 years at that company. And she fired me over the phone. I'm sorry. Don't be. Rachel reached into her bag and pulled out a USB drive. I didn't come here to apologize. I came here to give you this. Marcus stared at the drive. What is it? Your wife's algorithm. The complete code, all her documentation, everything. That's impossible. Victoria said it was destroyed. She said there was no backup. Victoria lied. Rachel pressed the drive into Marcus's hand. Your wife uploaded the algorithm to Global Link's cloud server the night she died. At 2:43 a.m. she finished the final version and backed it up to a secure folder encrypted with your birthday. Victoria tried to delete it the day after Elena died, but I downloaded a copy first. Marcus's hand closed around the drive. You had this the whole time. I had it the whole time. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you? Because I was scared. Rachel's voice cracked. Because Victoria Sterling can destroy people, and I watched her do it for 22 years. Because every time I thought about coming forward, I remembered what happened to the last person who crossed her. What happened? Rachel was quiet for a long moment. There's something else you need to know, Marcus. Something about the night Elena died. Marcus's heart stopped. What about it? The official report says she collapsed at her desk at 3:15 a.m. Cardiac arrest complications from chemotherapy. By the time the paramedics arrived, it was too late. I know. I was there. But do you know what she was doing at 3:15 a.m.? Marcus shook his head slowly. She called me. Rachel's voice dropped to almost a whisper. At 2:47 a.m., 4 minutes after she uploaded the algorithm. She was so excited she could barely speak. She said she'd finished it, the final piece, the pattern recognition system that made everything work. She said it was perfect. She called you. She wanted to show me immediately. I told her to wait to get some rest to come into the office in the morning, but she was so happy, Marcus, so proud of what she'd built. She said this was going to change everything for her family, for you and Maya. Marcus couldn't breathe. I told her I'd wait at the office, that she could show me whenever she got there. And then... Rachel wiped her eyes. And then she never came. The cardiac arrest. The excitement. The exhaustion. The chemotherapy. Rachel's voice broke completely. She pushed herself too hard because she wanted to finish something that would take care of you after she was gone. And I let her. I should have driven to your house instead of making her come to me. I should have told her to sleep. I should have... It wasn't your fault. It feels like my fault. Marcus sat with that for a long moment. Elena working until 3 a.m. Elena finishing her life's work. Elena so excited to share what she'd built that she'd forgotten to take care of herself. That was so like her. So completely heartbreakingly like her. There's more, Rachel said. On the drive. There's a video file. Something Elena recorded the night she died. I think... She stopped. I think you should watch it. What's on it? I don't know. I couldn't bring myself to look. It felt like it belonged to you. Marcus turned the USB drive over in his hands. Such a small thing. Such a small thing to contain so much. Why now? He asked. Why give this to me now? Because I watched Victoria humiliate you in front of 50 people. Because I watched her rig a test she knew you could pass. Because I watched her try to steal your wife's legacy, and I stood there and did nothing. Rachel stood up. I'm done being afraid, Marcus. Elena deserved better. You deserve better. And Victoria Sterling deserves whatever's coming to her. She handed Marcus a folder. What's this here? Documentation. Everything I could pull from the company servers before they locked me out. Emails from Victoria instructing IT to delete Elena's files. Memos about suppressing the algorithm. A recording of a conversation where Victoria admits the algorithm is worth $50 million, but says, Rachel's voice hardened. The janitor's wife isn't getting a dime of it. Marcus opened the folder. Printed emails. Audio transcripts. A timeline of everything Victoria had done since Elena's death. She knew, Marcus said quietly. She knew the whole time. She knew, she just didn't care. Marcus stood. The rain had stopped, but he barely noticed. Something was building in his chest, something hot and sharp and dangerous. Dr. Morgan, thank you. Rachel, call me Rachel. She pressed a business card into his hand. That's my personal number. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, you call me. I will. Rachel walked away, disappearing into the Seattle evening. Marcus watched her go. Then he walked to the library. Mrs. Patterson was just closing up when Marcus pushed through the door. She'd known him since he was a teenager, back when he used to come here to escape his father's house. Marcus? She hurried toward him. I've been trying to call you. I saw the video. Everyone saw the video. What happened? I need to use a computer. Please. Of course, of course. She led him to a back room away from the windows. Take your time. I'll make sure no one bothers you. She brought him hot chocolate, the same thing she used to bring him when he was 17 and hiding from his problems. Some things never changed. Marcus inserted the USB drive, entered Elena's birthday as the password, watched the files appear on screen. Folders of code. Research documents, translation matrices, test results showing the algorithm successfully decoding languages that had stumped experts for decades, and one video file labeled For Marcus and Maya. Marcus's hand hovered over the mouse for a full minute. Then he clicked. Elena's face filled the screen. She was thinner than he remembered, even though it had only been 6 months. The chemotherapy had taken most of her hair. Dark circles under her eyes, but she was smiling. God, she was smiling like she'd won the lottery. Hey, baby. Marcus's vision blurred with tears. If you're watching this, it means the cancer won, I guess. I always hoped I'd be able to delete this video, that I'd be around to show you the algorithm myself, but... She shrugged. We don't always get what we hope for. Marcus wiped his eyes. It didn't help. The tears kept coming. I need to tell you some things. Important things. So sit down, get comfortable, and listen. You know I always talk too much. She laughed at her own joke. Marcus laughed too through his tears because Elena had always talked too much, and he'd loved every word. First thing, the algorithm works. I just tested it on the Morrison document. You remember the one Victoria's been obsessing over for months? Translated the whole thing in 47 minutes. All 9 languages. It's perfect, Marcus. Everything we talked about, everything I taught you about pattern recognition and linguistic bridges, it all works. Marcus thought about the conference room, about translating 8 languages while Victoria watched, about almost finishing the 9th before she stopped him. I'm about to call Rachel and show her. I know it's late, it's almost 3 a.m., can you believe that? But I'm so excited I can't wait until morning. This is it, baby. This is going to change everything for our family. Marcus wanted to reach through the screen, wanted to grab her and shake her and tell her not to make that call, to go to sleep, to take care of herself for once instead of always taking care of everyone else. But Elena kept talking, oblivious to the future that was already rushing toward her. Second thing, I encrypted everything with my birthday, so only you and Maya can access it. I documented every hour I worked on this at home, every resource I used, everything. If Global Link tries to claim this is company property, and they will try because Victoria Sterling is a snake, you fight them. You hear me? This belongs to our family. I built this for you and Maya. Elena leaned closer to the camera. Her eyes were fierce now, the way they got when she was determined about something. Victoria will try to take it. She'll say I was using company resources. She'll say it was done on company time. She'll lie, Marcus, because that's what she does. Don't let her. I have time-stamped backups of everything. I have documentation proving every hour was worked at home. I have witnesses, Rachel Morgan, David Park, others who knew what I was doing. This algorithm is ours. Don't let anyone tell you different. Marcus paused the video. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely control the mouse. Elena had known. She'd known exactly what Victoria would try to do, and she'd prepared for it. Every timestamp, every document, every backup. She'd been fighting for her family even then, even when she was dying. Marcus pressed play. Third thing, the most important thing. Elena's voice softened. Marcus, you're going to want to be strong. After I'm gone, you're going to think you have to hold everything together for Maya. You're going to think you can't fall apart, can't ask for help, can't admit when you're scared. She reached toward the camera like she was trying to touch his face. Baby, being strong doesn't mean not being afraid. It means being afraid and doing it anyway. It means asking for help when you need it. It means crying when you need to cry. She smiled through her own tears. I'm crying right now. See? And I'm still strong. Feelings don't make you weak. They make you human. Marcus was sobbing now, deep, wrenching sobs that shook his whole body. I wish I could be there to see what you do with this. I wish I could watch you walk into Victoria Sterling's office and show her exactly who she messed with. But since I can't... Elena straightened up. I need you to do something for me. Anything, Marcus whispered to the screen. Anything. Don't give up. No matter what Victoria says, no matter how many times they knock you down, you get back up. You fight. Not just for the money, although, baby, that algorithm is worth a fortune, but for us, for our family, for the proof that Elena Johnson's life meant something. She was crying harder now. So was Marcus. And take care of Maya. She's going to need you so much. She's going to ask questions you don't know how to answer. She's going to cry at night and miss her mommy and not understand why the world is so unfair. Elena's voice broke completely. You hold her. You tell her I loved her. You tell her I'm still there in every hug she gives you and every time she's brave, even when she's scared and every time she stands up for what's right. I'm there. Always. Marcus thought about Maya, 8 years old, asking every night when mommy was coming home. One last thing. Elena took a deep breath, composing herself. The Sumerian section of the Morrison document. Page 9. I translated it 2 years ago, and I highlighted it in my notes because it felt important. Do you remember what it says? Marcus remembered. He'd said it in Victoria's conference room right before he walked out. The greatest thieves are not those who take gold, but those who steal credit from the dead. For gold can be replaced, but a person's legacy once stolen is lost forever. On the screen, Elena smiled. I highlighted that because I knew even then what Victoria would try to do. She's a thief, Marcus. She's stolen credit from dozens of people translators who did the real work while she took the awards. I wasn't going to let her steal from our family. Elena leaned back, exhausted but determined. Now go show them what Elena Johnson's husband can do. Make them see you. Make them see me, and most importantly, her voice cracked. Take care of our baby girl. That's the real work. Everything else is just details. She reached toward the camera. I love you, Marcus. I love you so much. I'll be waiting for you. But not too soon. Okay. You've got a lot of living left to do. The video ended. Marcus sat in the dark library crying so hard he couldn't breathe. The hot chocolate Mrs. Patterson had brought him was cold and forgotten. The screen had gone black, but he could still see Elena's face, still hear her voice. Make them see you. Make them see me. A knock on the door. Marcus. Mrs. Patterson's voice was gentle. Sweetie, there are some people here to see you. I don't want to see anyone. One of them says she's from Channel 7 News, and there's a lawyer, and... Mrs. Patterson paused. And a man who says he used to work at Global Link. He says it's urgent. Marcus wiped his eyes. It didn't help they were too swollen from crying. Tell them to go away. Marcus. The door opened. Mrs. Patterson stood there with that expression she used to give him when he was 17 and trying to hide from the world. Elena would want you to talk to them. You know she would. Marcus looked at the USB drive. At Elena's notes. At the frozen image of his wife's face on the computer screen. She'd spent 2 years preparing for this moment. She'd worked until her heart gave out to give him the tools he needed to fight. The least he could do was use them. Okay, Marcus said. Let them in. The library's back room filled quickly. Jennifer Kim from Channel 7, microphone in hand. Robert Chen, the intellectual property lawyer. Sarah Mitchell from the Seattle Times, notepad ready. And David Park, the executive from Global Link, who'd verified Marcus's translations. I quit, David said without preamble. 2 hours ago, right after Victoria threatened to fire anyone who talked about what happened in that conference room. I packed my desk and walked out. Why? Marcus asked. Because I've worked for that woman for 15 years. I've watched her take credit for other people's work, destroy careers, bury scandals. And I never said anything because I was scared. David's voice hardened. Today, I watched her humiliate a man whose wife died working for her. I watched her rig a test she knew he could pass. And I watched her laugh about it afterward. She laughed. Called you the performing janitor. Said she couldn't believe you actually thought you could beat her. Marcus felt the anger building again. That hot, sharp thing in his chest. Mr. Johnson. Robert Chen stepped forward. I've reviewed the video footage. I've read the comments. And if what Dr. Morgan told me is true, if you have documentation proving the algorithm was developed at home, you have a case. A very strong case. What kind of case? Intellectual property theft. Wrongful termination of your wife's legacy claims. Potentially fraud, depending on what Victoria knew and when she knew it. Robert's eyes were steady. But I have to be honest with you. Victoria Sterling has the best lawyers money can buy. She'll fight this with everything she has. It could take years. I don't have years. I have medical bills, funeral costs, an 8-year-old daughter. I know. That's why I'm suggesting something different. Different how? Robert glanced at Jennifer Kim. How would you feel about a public demonstration? Marcus frowned. I already did a demonstration. Victoria stopped me before I could finish. I'm not talking about a demonstration for Victoria. Jennifer stepped forward. I'm talking about a demonstration for the world. Live television. Tomorrow morning. You translate the Morrison document all 9 languages start to finish while millions of people watch. And what does that accomplish? It proves you can do it. It proves Victoria rigged the test. And it puts so much public pressure on Global Link that their board will have no choice but to settle. Marcus thought about it. Victoria will never agree to that. She doesn't have to agree, Jennifer said. But she'll show up. I guarantee it. How can you guarantee that? Jennifer smiled. Because I'll tell her that if she doesn't, we'll do the segment anyway, and we'll spend the whole hour talking about what a coward she is for hiding from a janitor. The room went quiet. Marcus looked at David. You think this will work? I think Victoria Sterling has never been publicly humiliated before. I think her entire empire is built on the image of being untouchable. And I think if you shatter that image on live television... David let the sentence hang. She'll have no choice but to deal with you. Marcus looked at the USB drive in his hand, at Elena's briefcase on the table, at the lawyer, the journalists, the former executive, all of them ready to fight for him. Make them see you. Make them see me. One condition, Marcus said. Name it. Victoria Sterling has to be there, in person, watching. Jennifer nodded. I'll make sure she gets the invitation. And one more thing. Marcus stood picking up Elena's briefcase. My daughter Maya. She wants to come. Is that wise? Robert asked. This could get ugly. My daughter watched her mother die. She's been asking for 6 months why the world is so unfair. Marcus's voice was steady. It's time she saw that sometimes if you fight hard enough, you can make it fair. The meeting broke up at midnight. Marcus walked home through empty Seattle streets. Elena's briefcase in one hand, the USB drive in his pocket. Tomorrow morning the whole world would be watching. And Victoria Sterling was about to learn what happened when you tried to steal from a man who had nothing left to lose. Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. This is Victoria Sterling. Marcus stopped walking. Mr. Johnson, I understand you're planning a little performance for tomorrow morning. Word travels fast. I have people everywhere, including at Channel 7. Victoria's voice was cold. I'm calling to offer you a deal. I'm listening. $500,000. Right now. Tonight. In exchange, you hand over your wife's documentation and agree to never speak publicly about Global Link again. That's half of what you offered this morning. This morning you hadn't made yourself a public nuisance. The offer reflects the additional costs you've created for my company. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. Something funny. Yeah, you. Marcus started walking again. You called me to offer $500,000 in the middle of the night. That means you're scared. I'm not scared of you. Then why are you calling? Why not just let me embarrass myself on television tomorrow? Silence. That's what I thought. Marcus's voice hardened. My wife was worth more than $500,000. Her work was worth more. Her life was worth more. And you're going to stand in front of the whole world tomorrow and admit it. I will destroy you. You already tried. It didn't work. You have no idea what I'm capable of. And you have no idea what I'm capable of. Marcus stopped walking. He was standing outside his apartment building, the same building where Elena had died 6 months ago. "Tomorrow morning, Channel 7, 9 a.m. I hope you're watching." He hung up. For a long moment, Marcus just stood there, looking up at the window of his apartment. Maya was asleep up there. Mrs. Chen was watching her. In a few hours, everything would change. Marcus walked inside and started preparing for war. Marcus didn't sleep. He sat at the kitchen table with Elena's notebook open in front of him, reviewing every page, every note, every pattern she'd documented over 2 years of work. The apartment was quiet, except for the sound of Maya's breathing from the bedroom and the occasional car passing on the street below. At 4 a.m., he made coffee. At 5 a.m., he showered and put on the only suit he owned, the same one he'd worn to Elena's funeral. At 6 a.m., Maya woke up. She found him in the kitchen staring at his cold coffee, Elena's briefcase on the table in front of him. "Daddy." Marcus looked up. Maya was standing in the doorway in her pajamas, clutching the stuffed rabbit Elena had given her for her 5th birthday. She'd slept with it every night since Elena died. "Hey, baby girl, you're up early." "I couldn't sleep." Maya walked over and climbed into his lap. She was getting too big for this, but Marcus didn't care. He held her tight. "Are you scared?" "A little." "Mommy used to say it's okay to be scared. She said being brave means being scared and doing it anyway." Marcus's throat tightened. "Your mommy was the bravest person I ever knew." "I want to come with you today." "I know." "Mrs. Chen said it might be too much for me. She said I should stay home and watch on TV." "What do you think?" Maya was quiet for a moment. "I think Mommy would want me there. I think she'd want to see us be brave together." Marcus kissed the top of her head. "Then you're coming." They got dressed together. Marcus helped Maya pick out her best dress, the blue one Elena had bought her for Easter, before she got too sick to take her shopping anymore. Maya insisted on wearing the gold necklace with the tiny butterfly pendant that Elena had worn every day. "Mommy said butterflies mean change," Maya said, touching the pendant. "She said when you see a butterfly, it means something new is about to happen." "Something new is definitely about to happen," Marcus agreed. At 7:30, a car pulled up outside the apartment. Jennifer Kim had sent a driver. Marcus and Maya walked out into the Seattle morning. The sky was gray and heavy with clouds, but for once, it wasn't raining. Marcus took that as a sign. The drive to the Channel 7 studio took 20 minutes. Maya held his hand the whole way, her small fingers wrapped tight around his. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby." "What if the mean lady wins again?" Marcus looked at his daughter. 8 years old. Already knew that sometimes the bad guys won. Already knew that life wasn't fair. "She won't," Marcus said. "How do you know?" "Because your mommy made sure of it. She spent 2 years making sure that when this day came, we'd have everything we needed to fight." Maya nodded slowly. "Mommy was really smart. The smartest person I ever met." "Smarter than you." Marcus laughed. Actually laughed for the first time in what felt like months. "Way smarter than me. She just let me think I was keeping up." The studio was chaos. Camera crews rushing everywhere, producers shouting into headsets, lighting techs adjusting equipment, security guards checking credentials at every door. Jennifer Kim met them in the lobby. "Marcus, you're early. Good." She crouched down to Maya's level. "And you must be Maya. Your daddy told me you wanted to come." "I want to see him win," Maya said. Jennifer smiled. "I think we all do." She straightened up. "We've got about an hour before we go live. I need to brief you on how this is going to work." "What about Victoria?" "She's here." Jennifer's expression tightened. "Arrived 20 minutes ago with 4 lawyers and a PR team. She demanded to be allowed to make a statement before you start translating. And I told her she could make her statement after you finish. She didn't like that." "Good." Jennifer led them through a maze of corridors to a green room. Someone had set up coffee and pastries. Marcus wasn't hungry, but Maya ate a donut while Jennifer explained the format. The Morrison document will be displayed on a screen behind you. You'll translate each section out loud, and our linguistics experts will verify in real time. We've got 3 professors from University of Washington, all specialists in ancient languages. They've agreed to confirm or challenge your translations as you go. What if Victoria tries to stop me again, like she did yesterday? She won't. I've made it clear that if she interrupts, we'll cut to a segment about her history of intellectual property disputes. We've done some digging, Marcus. Victoria Sterling has been accused of stealing credit from employees at least 6 times over the past 2 decades. None of those cases ever went to trial because she paid everyone off. Why didn't anyone talk? NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Everyone who took her money agreed to stay silent. Jennifer leaned forward. But you're different. You haven't signed anything, and you have something none of those other people had. What's that? Proof, documentation, and a wife who saw this coming and prepared for it. A knock on the door. One of the producers poked his head in. Ms. Kim, we have a situation. What kind of situation? Victoria Sterling is demanding to speak with Mr. Johnson, privately, before the broadcast. Jennifer looked at Marcus. Your call. Marcus thought about it. About Victoria's cold voice on the phone last night. About the way she'd called Elena's work a hobby project. About the way she'd laughed after humiliating him in front of 50 people. Send her in. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. You sure? I want to hear what she has to say. Jennifer nodded and stepped outside. A moment later, the door opened again. Victoria Sterling walked in like she owned the room. She probably thought she did. Behind her were 2 lawyers, expensive suits, expensive watches. Expressions that said they'd never lost a case. Leave us, Victoria said. The lawyers hesitated. I said leave us. You too, she added, looking at Jennifer. Jennifer glanced at Marcus. It's okay, Marcus said. Maya, go with Ms. Kim. I'll just be a minute. Maya looked up at him with those big brown eyes, Elena's eyes. Are you sure, Daddy? I'm sure, baby. Go on. Maya squeezed his hand once, then let Jennifer lead her out. The lawyers followed. The door closed. Marcus and Victoria were alone. For a long moment neither of them spoke. Victoria studied him the way you might study an insect you were about to crush. You're making a mistake, Victoria said finally. I don't think I am. You have no idea what you're walking into. This broadcast, it's not going to be what you think. I have people everywhere, Marcus. In the audience, on the production team, among the so-called experts who are supposed to verify your translations. Is that supposed to scare me? It's supposed to make you think. Victoria stepped closer. Right now you're a sympathetic figure, the poor widower, the grieving husband, the janitor who loved his wife. People feel sorry for you, but sympathy fades fast. One wrong word, one failed translation, one moment of hesitation, and you become a joke. The janitor who thought he was smart, the husband who couldn't live up to his wife's legacy. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. Is that what you're hoping for? I'm hoping you'll be reasonable. Victoria reached into her jacket and pulled out an envelope. $2 million. I had the check drawn up this morning. Marcus stared at the envelope. Yesterday, it was $500,000. Yesterday, you hadn't made yourself a public relations nightmare. The board is pressuring me to make this go away. $2 million makes it go away. And in exchange, you hand over all documentation of your wife's algorithm. You sign an NDA. You disappear. The video from yesterday gets taken down. The story dies. The video has 10 million views. Money can make things disappear. You'd be surprised. Marcus looked at the envelope. $2 million. More money than he'd ever seen. More money than he could ever earn in a lifetime of cleaning offices. It would pay off Elena's medical bills. Pay for Maya's education. Give them a future. All he had to do was let Victoria win. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. Go ahead. Did you know before Elena died? Did you know what she was building? Victoria's expression flickered. Just for a moment. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. Elena wasn't just a translator, she was brilliant. You knew that. You knew she was working on something revolutionary. You just didn't think it mattered because she was dying. I don't have to listen to this. You thought you could wait her out. Let the cancer do the work. Then swoop in and take everything she'd built. Marcus's voice was steady. That's why you didn't promote her. That's why you kept her salary low even though she was your best translator. You were waiting for her to die. That's absurd. Is it Rachel Morgan told me about the emails, the memos, the conversation where you called Elena's algorithm worth $50 million and then said the janitor's wife isn't getting a dime of it? Victoria's face went pale. Rachel was fired for stealing company property. Anything she told you is a lie. Is it? Because she also told me about the cloud backup. The one Elena uploaded at 2:43 a.m. the night she died. The one you tried to delete the next morning. Victoria's hands curled into fists. What do you want? I want what belongs to my family. My wife's algorithm. My wife's legacy. My wife's name on the work she created. That's not going to happen. Then I'll see you on television. Marcus walked past her toward the door. Thanks for the offer, Victoria, but I'm not for sale. You're going to regret this. Marcus stopped with his hand on the doorknob. My wife worked herself to death building something that would take care of her family. She believed in that algorithm. She believed it would change people's lives. He turned to face Victoria one last time. She also believed that someday someone would expose you for what you really are. I guess that someone is me. He walked out. Victoria stood alone in the green room, the $2 million check still in her hand, and for the first time in her career, she had no idea what to do next. The studio audience was packed. Marcus walked onto the set and felt 200 pairs of eyes lock onto him. Camera operators adjusted their equipment. Sound techs checked levels. In the front row, 3 linguistics professors sat with tablets and reference materials ready to verify every word he said. And there, in the center of the front row, sat Victoria Sterling. She'd changed clothes since their conversation in the green room. Now she wore a crisp white blazer and an expression of perfect confidence. Her lawyers flanked her on either side. Her PR team sat behind her, ready to spin whatever happened next. Jennifer Kim took her position at the anchor desk. Good morning. I'm Jennifer Kim, and you're watching what may be the most unusual broadcast in Channel 7 history. She turned to face camera 1. Yesterday, a video went viral. It showed billionaire CEO Victoria Sterling challenging Marcus Johnson, a janitor whose wife worked at Global Link Translation Services, to translate an ancient document. Mr. Johnson completed 8 of 9 languages before Ms. Sterling stopped the demonstration. The screen behind Jennifer lit up with clips from yesterday's video. Marcus translating. Victoria's hand slamming on the table. The words, "Time's up," echoing through the conference room. Today, Mr. Johnson will complete what he started. He will translate the Morrison document all 9 languages start to finish on live television. Our expert panel will verify his translations in real time. Jennifer turned to Marcus. Mr. Johnson, are you ready? Marcus looked at Maya, who was sitting in the wings with Rachel Morgan. Maya gave him a thumbs up. I'm ready. Then let's begin. The first page of the Morrison document appeared on the screen behind him. Babylonian Akkadian, the same language he'd started with yesterday. Marcus took a breath. He thought about Elena, about her voice guiding him through the grammar, about the way she used to laugh when he got the pronunciation wrong. And then he began. In the 3rd year of King Hammurabi's reign, the priests of Babylon gathered to record the wisdom of the ancients. The words flowed out of him like water. Not memorized, understood. Because Elena hadn't just taught him vocabulary. She'd taught him to see language as human thought, made visible to hear the patterns that connected one civilization to another. They wrote in clay what they could not trust to memory, knowing that empires fall, but words endure. Dr. Patricia Walsh, the Acadian specialist from UW, checked her tablet and nodded. Accurate, word for word. Marcus moved to the second section. Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. The pharaoh commands that this knowledge be preserved. Let it pass from scribe to scribe, from temple to temple, until the end of days. For the gods speak through those who record their words. Dr. James Chen verified. Correct. His interpretation of the formal register is actually more precise than most academic translations. The third section, Ancient Greek. Wisdom is not owned. It is borrowed from those who came before and lent to those who will come after. The man who claims another's thoughts as his own builds his house on sand. In the front row, Victoria Sterling shifted in her seat. Her lawyers were whispering to each other. Marcus kept translating. Sanskrit, Old Persian, Classical Syriac, Biblical Hebrew, Aramaic. Each language flowed into the next, each translation verified by the experts. And with each language, the energy in the room shifted. What had started as curiosity became amazement. What had started as amazement became something closer to awe. Marcus wasn't just translating. He was teaching. He was explaining the connections between languages, showing how patterns in one script echoed patterns in another, demonstrating the revolutionary approach Elena had developed. My wife spent 2 years developing a method for understanding ancient languages, Marcus said, pausing between the 8th and 9th sections. She called it linguistic bridging. The idea is that human thought follows patterns, and those patterns transcend individual languages. If you can identify the pattern, you can understand any language, even ones that have been dead for thousands of years. Dr. Walsh leaned forward. This is exactly what the academic community has been struggling with for decades. The patterns he's describing, they're real. They work. Of course they work, Marcus said. My wife was a genius. She just never got credit for it. He looked directly at Victoria. Until now. The 9th section appeared on the screen. Ancient Sumerian. The language that had defeated him yesterday. The room went silent. Marcus studied the symbols. This was it. The final test. The language Victoria had used to stop him knowing he'd need more than a minute to translate it. But he'd had all night to prepare, all night to review Elena's notes, all night to trace the patterns she'd identified. The greatest thieves, Marcus began, his voice steady, are not those who take gold. Victoria's face went white. But those who steal credit from the dead? The lawyers were frantically whispering. Victoria's PR team was typing on their phones. For gold can be replaced. Marcus paused. Let the words hang in the air. But a person's legacy once stolen is lost forever. The studio erupted. Applause from the audience. The professors checking their tablets and nodding. Jennifer Kim, struggling to maintain professional composure. Mr. Johnson? Dr. Walsh stood up. That translation is perfect. More than perfect, your interpretation of the archaic Sumerian verb forms is the most accurate I've ever seen outside of specialized academic journals. Thank my wife. She wrote the book on it, literally. Marcus reached into Elena's briefcase and pulled out a thick notebook. This is her research, 2 years of work, every pattern, every connection, every breakthrough. She documented it all because she knew someone would try to steal it after she was gone. He looked at Victoria. She was right. Victoria stood abruptly. This is absurd. This proves nothing except that his wife trained him like a what? Marcus interrupted. Like a performing monkey. That's what you called me yesterday, isn't it? After I left? Victoria's mouth opened, closed. I know what you said. I know what you've been saying about Elena for years. The janitor's wife. The cleaning lady's husband. Like our jobs made us less than human. Marcus stepped toward her. The cameras followed. My wife cleaned her own house, Victoria. She cooked her own meals. She worked 2 jobs to put herself through graduate school. And when she got sick, when the cancer started eating her alive, she kept working. Not for you, for our family, for our daughter, for the future she knew she wouldn't live to see. His voice cracked, but he pushed through. And you knew. You knew what she was building. You knew it was worth millions. And you waited. You waited for her to die so you could take it. That's a lie. Is it? Marcus pulled out his phone. Rachel Morgan gave me the backup. All of Elena's files, including her emails. Including the ones where you discussed how to handle her work after she was gone. Including the memo where you instructed IT to delete everything. Victoria's lawyers were standing now. This broadcast needs to stop. Our client's rights. Your client's rights. Jennifer Kim stood up. This is a news broadcast. The public has a right to know. This is defamation. This is the truth. Marcus held up the phone. I have documentation of everything. Timestamps, emails, recordings. My wife knew you would try to steal from her, and she made sure there was proof. The audience was murmuring. Phones were out. People were recording. You want to know what the Morrison document really says? Marcus turned back to the crowd. It's a warning. 9 ancient civilizations all saying the same thing. That knowledge belongs to everyone. That stealing someone's ideas is worse than stealing their gold. That truth has a way of surviving no matter how hard powerful people try to bury it. He looked at Victoria one last time. My wife was dying when she translated this. She was hooked up to chemotherapy, barely able to sit upright, and she spent her last months making sure her work would survive. Not for money, not for fame, for our daughter, for our family, for the proof that Elena Johnson's life mattered. Marcus's voice broke completely. And you tried to take that from us. You tried to steal a dead woman's legacy from her 8-year-old daughter. The studio was silent. Then from the wings, a small voice, Daddy. Maya was walking onto the set. Rachel Morgan tried to stop her, but Maya pulled free. Daddy, are you okay? Marcus knelt down and pulled his daughter into his arms. I'm okay, baby. I'm okay. Maya looked at Victoria. 8 years old. Eyes that had seen too much. Voice that carried across the silent studio. My mommy was nice. She helped people. She taught Daddy how to read the old words because she loved him. Maya's voice was steady, stronger than it should have been. Why did you want to steal from her? She never did anything bad to you. Victoria stood frozen. The cameras were all pointed at her now. Millions of people watching, waiting for her to answer an 8-year-old girl's question. Victoria started. You're mean, Maya said. My mommy said there are mean people in the world and you can't always stop them, but she also said the truth always comes out. Maya touched the butterfly necklace around her neck. She said butterflies mean change, and I think things are about to change for you. Victoria's face crumbled, not into tears, into something harder, colder. The face of someone who had built an empire on other people's work and was watching it collapse. We're done here, Victoria said. She turned and walked off the set, her lawyers scrambling to follow. But before she reached the exit, Jennifer Kim's voice stopped her. Ms. Sterling, one more question. Victoria didn't turn around. Did you know that Elena Johnson called your office the night she died? Victoria froze. We have phone records showing a call from Elena Johnson's cell phone to Global Link at 2:47 a.m. The call lasted 4 minutes. She was trying to show someone what she'd built. Jennifer's voice was ice. She died 30 minutes later, heart attack, brought on by exhaustion from working through chemotherapy. Victoria still didn't move. Your assistant told investigators that he forwarded the call to your direct line, that you spoke with Elena Johnson for 4 minutes and then told her to come in tomorrow if it's so important. The audience gasped. Elena Johnson got in her car and drove toward Global Link at 3 a.m. because she was excited to show you her work. She collapsed at a red light 6 blocks from your building. Jennifer's voice shook with controlled fury. "Did you know that Ms. Sterling? Did you know she was dying while you went back to sleep?" Victoria turned around slowly. Her face was gray. Her hands were trembling. I didn't know she would." "You didn't know she would die, but you knew she was sick. You knew she was exhausted, and you told her to drive across the city in the middle of the night anyway. I thought she was exaggerating. You thought a dying woman was exaggerating about her breakthrough algorithm, the same algorithm you tried to steal 12 hours later." Victoria's lawyers grabbed her arms. "Don't say another word. Not another word." They dragged her toward the exit. Victoria looked back once at Marcus still kneeling on the floor with Maya in his arms. Their eyes met, and Marcus saw something he'd never expected to see in Victoria Sterling's face. Fear. The broadcast ended 17 minutes later. By then, the clip of Maya confronting Victoria had already been viewed 2 million times. By then, Global Link's stock had dropped 12%. By then, Victoria Sterling's lawyers were issuing statements and damage control teams were working overtime. But in the studio, as the cameras powered down and the audience filed out, Marcus just sat on the floor holding his daughter. "Daddy." "Yeah, baby." "Did we win?" Marcus thought about Elena, about her voice on that video, about her working until 3 a.m. because she believed her algorithm would take care of her family. "Yeah, baby," Marcus said. "I think we did." Rachel Morgan approached them slowly. Her eyes were red. "Marcus, there's something you should know." "What?" "The board of Global Link just called an emergency meeting. Victoria's been asked to step down pending investigation." Rachel crouched beside them. "They want to talk to you about the algorithm, about a fair price, about—" She took a breath. "About naming the technology after Elena." Marcus felt something break open in his chest, something he'd been holding together for 6 months. "They want to name it after her, the Elena Johnson translation algorithm. It would be used by universities, libraries, preservation societies around the world. Her work would live forever." Marcus pulled Maya closer. Tears were streaming down his face. "Mommy would like that," Maya whispered. "She always said she wanted to be remembered." Marcus kissed the top of his daughter's head. "She will be baby. The whole world is going to remember her now." Outside the studio, the clouds had finally broken. Sunlight was streaming through for the first time in weeks. And somewhere Marcus liked to believe Elena was smiling. The check arrived 3 days later. Not by mail, not through lawyers. Victoria Sterling delivered it herself. Marcus was sitting on the front steps of his apartment building when the black Mercedes pulled up. Maya was at school her first day back since the broadcast, and Mrs. Chen had gone to pick her up. Marcus had been sitting there for 20 minutes, just breathing, trying to process everything that had happened. The car door opened. Victoria stepped out. She looked different, older. The crisp confidence was gone. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup clothes that looked like she'd grabbed them without thinking. She stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, looking at Marcus like she wasn't sure he was real. "Can we talk?" she asked. Marcus didn't move. "You could have sent your lawyers." "I know." "You could have mailed the check." "I know." "So why are you here?" Victoria took a breath. Then another, like she was building up to something she'd never done before. "Because I needed to see you, face to face, to say something I should have said a long time ago." Marcus waited. Victoria walked toward him slowly like she was approaching a wounded animal. She stopped at the bottom of the steps, looking up at him. "I'm sorry." The words hung in the air. Marcus didn't respond. "I know that's not enough. I know sorry doesn't bring Elena back, doesn't erase what I did, doesn't make any of this right." Victoria's voice cracked. "But I needed to say it. I needed you to hear it from me, not from my lawyers, not from some press release. I'm sorry." "For what exactly?" Victoria flinched. For all of it. For treating Elena like she was expendable. For paying her half what she was worth. For making her feel like she had to work through chemotherapy just to keep her job. For waiting. Her voice broke completely. For waiting for her to die so I could take her work. You admit it. Yes. On the record. Victoria laughed a bitter, hollow sound. The record doesn't matter anymore. I resigned from Global Link this morning. The board accepted immediately. I'm facing 3 lawsuits from former employees who found the courage to speak up after your broadcast. My reputation is destroyed. She looked at Marcus with something that might have been respect. You won. I didn't want to win. I wanted my wife's work to be recognized. It will be. The board approved the Elena Johnson translation algorithm this morning. It'll be licensed to universities around the world. Her name will be attached to every piece of research that uses her method. Victoria reached into her jacket and pulled out an envelope. And this is yours. Marcus took the envelope but didn't open it. $20 million, Victoria said. The licensing fees for the algorithm paid up front, plus the $1 million I promised you during that first demonstration, plus additional compensation for... She stopped. For everything else. $21 million. Yes. Marcus turned the envelope over in his hands. $21 million. More money than he'd ever imagined. Enough to pay off every bill, set Maya up for life, never worry about anything again. But it felt wrong. It felt like blood money. I don't want your guilt, Marcus said. This isn't guilt. This is what Elena's work is worth, what it was always worth. Victoria's voice steadied. I spent 20 years building Global Link by taking credit for other people's brilliance. Elena was the best of them, the most talented, the most dedicated, the most brilliant translator I ever employed. And I treated her like she was nothing. She wasn't nothing. I know that now. Victoria sat down on the steps beside Marcus. Not close, a few feet away, but close enough that he could see the exhaustion in her face, the dark circles under her eyes. I've been thinking about what your daughter said, about why I wanted to steal from Elena. And because I was scared. Victoria stared at her hands. Elena was everything I used to be. Passionate, dedicated, in love with the work itself, not just the success it brought. When I looked at her, I saw what I'd lost, what I'd become. So you tried to destroy her. I tried to control her, to make sure her light didn't expose my darkness. Victoria shook her head. I told myself I was being practical, that she was just an employee, that her work belonged to the company. But the truth is, I was jealous. Jealous of someone who was dying of cancer because at least she still believed in something. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Elena talked about you sometimes, he said finally. In the beginning, when she first started at Global Link, she admired you. Victoria looked up sharply. What? She kept a picture of you on her desk at home, from when the company won some translation award. She said you were proof that a woman could build something great in a field dominated by men. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know that. She stopped talking about you after the first year. I think that's when she figured out who you really were. Marcus turned to face Victoria. But she never hated you. Even at the end, when she was dying and you were paying her a third of what she deserved, she never hated you. She just felt sorry for you. Sorry for me. She said you'd lost yourself somewhere along the way. She said you'd traded your soul for success and didn't even realize the price you'd paid. Victoria was crying now, tears streaming down her face, making no effort to hide them. She was right, Victoria whispered. She was right about everything. They sat in silence for a while. The Seattle afternoon was gray and cool, but the rain was holding off. Somewhere down the street, children were laughing. What are you going to do now? Marcus asked. I don't know. I've never not known before. Victoria wiped her eyes. I built Global Link from nothing. I worked 80-hour weeks for 20 years. I sacrificed everything, my marriage, my health, my relationships to build that company. And now it's gone. It's not gone. Just your part of it. My part was all I had. Victoria stood up slowly. But maybe that's the point. Maybe I need to figure out who I am when I'm not Victoria Sterling CEO. When I'm just Victoria. She started toward her car, then stopped. Marcus? Yeah. The night Elena called me. The night she died. Victoria's voice was barely audible. I've replayed that conversation 1,000 times. She was so excited, so proud of what she'd built. She kept saying, "This is going to change everything for my family. Marcus and Maya will never have to worry again." Marcus felt his throat tighten. I told her to come in tomorrow. I told her it could wait. Victoria's hands were shaking. She said she couldn't wait. She said she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment, and she wasn't going to wait one more night. That sounds like her. The last thing she said to me, the very last thing was, "Tell Marcus I love him if I don't make it home." Victoria turned to face him. I never delivered that message. I buried it like I buried everything else. But I think you should know. The last thought on your wife's mind, the last words she spoke to anyone, were about how much she loved you. Marcus couldn't speak. The tears were coming too fast. "I'm sorry," Victoria said again, "for everything." She got in her car and drove away. Marcus sat on the steps for a long time holding the envelope with $21 million inside, crying for the wife who had loved him until her last breath. The foundation was Rachel Morgan's idea. She showed up at Marcus's apartment 2 days after Victoria's visit, carrying a stack of documents and a plan that would change everything. "I've been thinking about what Elena would have wanted," Rachel said, spreading papers across Marcus's kitchen table. "She didn't create that algorithm to make money. She created it to preserve dying languages, to give voice to the forgotten." "I know. So what if we did that? What if, instead of just licensing the algorithm to the highest bidder, we used it to actually do the work Elena dreamed about?" Marcus picked up one of the documents. It was a proposal for something called the Elena Johnson Translation Foundation. "A non-profit," Rachel explained, "dedicated to preserving endangered languages. We'd use Elena's algorithm to document languages that are dying out, train translators in underserved communities, provide scholarships for people who want to study linguistics but can't afford it. And the money? The licensing fees fund the foundation. The algorithm keeps generating revenue, and that revenue goes back into the work." Rachel leaned forward. "Marcus, there are over 3,000 languages in the world that are endangered. 3,000 voices that will be silenced in our lifetime if no one acts. Elena's algorithm could save them." Marcus stared at the proposal. The Elena Johnson Translation Foundation. His wife's name attached to something that would outlive them all. "It would need someone to run it," Marcus said slowly. "Someone who understands the translation industry. Someone who knows how to build an organization from scratch." "I've been thinking about that too." Rachel hesitated. "What would you say if I told you I wanted to do it, you?" "I spent 22 years helping Victoria Sterling build her empire. 22 years of watching talented people get exploited, watching credit get stolen, watching the work become secondary to the profit." Rachel's voice hardened. "I want to build something different, something Elena would have been proud of." "You'd be giving up a lot. You could go to any translation company in the world right now. After the broadcast, everyone knows your name." "I don't want to work for another Victoria Sterling. I want to work for Elena's legacy." Rachel met his eyes. "I want to make this right, Marcus. Let me make this right." Marcus looked at the proposal again, at his wife's name, at the vision of thousands of languages preserved, millions of voices saved. "Okay," he said. "Let's do it." Rachel's face broke into a smile. "Really? But I have conditions." "Name them." "First, Maya gets to help design the logo. She's been drawing butterflies non-stop since the broadcast, and she says they represent change. Rachel laughed. Done. Second, you find David Park and offer him a job. He quit Global Link to help me, and he deserves to be part of this. Already on my list. Third, Marcus paused. Third, you reach out to Victoria Sterling. Rachel's smile disappeared. Excuse me. She has 20 years of experience building a translation company. She knows everyone in the industry. She has connections, resources, knowledge that we need. Marcus, she tried to steal Elena's work. She humiliated you in front of the world. I know what she did. Marcus's voice was quiet. Elena knew too. But my wife believed that people could change. She believed that making mistakes didn't define you, how you responded to them did. You want to give Victoria Sterling a chance to respond? I want to give her a chance to be useful, to take everything she built on other people's backs and use it to help instead of hurt. Marcus looked at Rachel steadily. Elena would have wanted that. I know she would. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. If I do this, she said finally, if I reach out to Victoria, it's on my terms. She doesn't get decision-making power. She doesn't get her name on anything. She works in the background, doing the work, not taking the credit. That's exactly what I had in mind. And if she says no, then we do it without her. But I think she'll say yes. Why? Marcus thought about Victoria sitting on his front steps crying, asking what she was supposed to do with the rest of her life. Because she's looking for redemption. And this might be her only chance to find it. The call came 3 days later. Marcus was helping Maya with her homework when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Mr. Johnson, this is Dr. Patricia Walsh. From the broadcast, the linguistics professor, the one who had verified his translations. Dr. Walsh, what can I do for you? I'm calling because the University of Washington Linguistics Department has been discussing your wife's work extensively. Dr. Walsh's voice was measured but excited. We'd like to make you a proposal. What kind of proposal? The Elena Johnson translation algorithm represents a fundamental breakthrough in how we understand language acquisition and pattern recognition. It has applications far beyond ancient texts. It could revolutionize how we teach languages, how we develop AI translation tools, how we preserve endangered linguistic traditions. I'm aware of what it can do. What you may not be aware of is that there are only a handful of people in the world who truly understand how it works. Your wife was one, and based on your demonstration, you're another. Marcus frowned. I'm not a linguist, Dr. Walsh. I'm a janitor. You're a man who taught himself 9 ancient languages well enough to translate them on live television. You're a man who understands your wife's methodology at a fundamental level. Dr. Walsh paused. We'd like to offer you a position. A position. The Elena Johnson Chair of Applied Linguistics. A new endowed position funded by the university and by private donations that have been pouring in since your broadcast. You would teach conduct research and continue developing your wife's methodology. Marcus was silent. Mr. Johnson, are you still there? I didn't go to college, Dr. Walsh. I barely finished high school. You can't give me a position at a university. We can, if you're the most qualified person for the job. And you are. Dr. Walsh's voice warmed. Marcus, your wife spent 8 years teaching you. She passed on her knowledge, her methods, her passion. That makes you the world's foremost expert in Elena Johnson's work because you learned it from her. I learned it at my kitchen table. Einstein developed relativity in a patent office. Marie Curie did her early research in a converted shed. The location of learning doesn't diminish its value. Dr. Walsh was quiet for a moment. Your wife believed you were brilliant. She invested thousands of hours in teaching you. Don't you think she knew what she was doing? Marcus thought about Elena sitting beside him, night after night, pointing at symbols on a screen. Her patience when he got frustrated. Her joy when he finally understood. She said I was her greatest achievement, Marcus said softly. In the video she left. She said I was her greatest achievement, not the algorithm. Then honor that. Use what she gave you to continue her work. Maya was looking at him now. Homework forgotten, those big brown eyes watching him carefully. Can I think about it? Marcus asked. Of course. Take all the time you need. Dr. Walsh paused. But Marcus, your wife spent her last months making sure her legacy would survive. Part of that legacy is you. Don't waste it. The line went dead. Maya was still watching him. What was that about, Daddy? A job offer. What kind of job? Marcus looked at his daughter. 8 years old. Already knew more about loss than any child should. A job where I get to teach people what Mommy taught me. Maya's face lit up. Like a teacher. Yeah, baby. Like a teacher. Mommy would like that. Maya reached out and touched his hand. She always said you were smart. She said you just didn't know it yet. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. When did she say that? All the time. When you were at work and it was just me and her. She'd tell me stories about how she was going to help you see how smart you were. Maya smiled. I think she did, Daddy. I think she helped you see. Marcus pulled his daughter into a hug and held her tight. Yeah, baby, he whispered. I think she did too. Victoria called the next morning. Rachel Morgan contacted me, she said without preamble. She said you suggested I might want to be involved with the foundation. I did. Why? Marcus had been expecting this call. He'd prepared for it. But now that it was happening, all his prepared words seemed inadequate. Because my wife believed in second chances, he said finally. Because she believed that people are more than the worst things they've done. I destroyed her career. I tried to steal her legacy. I know what you did. I also know that you could have walked away after the broadcast. You could have hidden behind your lawyers and your money and never faced me again. But you came to my apartment. You apologized. You cried. Victoria was quiet. Elena used to say that tears are expensive, that most people guard them like treasure because they don't want anyone to see them vulnerable. Marcus paused. You let me see you vulnerable. That means something. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can work for something without being in charge. I've always been in charge. Then maybe it's time to learn how to follow. How to support someone else's vision instead of demanding everyone support yours. You really think I can change after everything? I think everyone can change if they want to badly enough. The question is, do you want to? Victoria was quiet for a long time. I've been having dreams, she said finally. About Elena. She's always working at her desk, translating something, and I walk in and she looks up at me and says, Why? Just that one word. Over and over. Why? What do you tell her? Nothing. I wake up before I can answer. Victoria's voice shook. I think the dreams are asking me to find an answer. I think they're asking me to figure out why I became the person who could hurt someone like her. And have you found an answer? Fear. The word came out like a confession. I was afraid of being ordinary, afraid of being forgotten, afraid of dying without having mattered. So I built an empire on other people's brilliance and convinced myself I deserved it. That's honest. It's pathetic. It's human. Marcus shifted the phone. My wife wasn't afraid of being ordinary. She was terrified of it. That's why she worked so hard, because she wanted to prove that a cleaning lady's daughter from El Salvador could change the world. She did change the world. She did. And now her foundation is going to change it even more. The question is whether you want to be part of that, or whether you want to spend the rest of your life having nightmares about a woman you wronged. Victoria took a breath. What would I have to do? Show up. Work hard. Take direction instead of giving it. Use your connections to help the foundation grow. And every single day remember that you're doing this because of Elena, not for yourself. That's it. That's it. No glory. No recognition. No credit, just the work. For how long? For as long as it takes to become the person you should have been all along. Victoria was silent for so long Marcus thought she'd hung up. Then, okay. Okay. Okay, I'll do it. Whatever Rachel needs, whatever the foundation needs, I'll do it. Victoria's voice steadied. I spent 20 years building something that made me rich and empty. Maybe I can spend the next 20 building something that actually matters. Elena would have liked that. I know, that's why I'm doing it. Victoria paused. Marcus. Yeah. Thank you for believing I could be better. I'm not sure I deserve it. You don't. But my wife taught me that grace isn't about deserving. It's about giving people a chance to earn it. He hung up. The next morning, Marcus called Dr. Walsh and accepted the position. The Elena Johnson Chair of Applied Linguistics. A janitor teaching at a university. Elena would have laughed until she cried. But she also would have been proud. Prouder than she'd ever been of anything. And somewhere, Marcus knew she was watching. The ceremony was held 3 weeks later. The University of Washington auditorium was packed. Linguistics professors from around the world. Students who had read about Marcus's story and wanted to be part of it. Journalists covering what they called the most remarkable second act in academic history. Maya sat in the front row wearing her blue Easter dress and Elena's butterfly necklace. Rachel Morgan sat beside her. And in the back, trying to be invisible, sat Victoria Sterling. Dr. Walsh introduced Marcus with a speech about Elena's brilliance about the algorithm that was already transforming how researchers approached ancient languages, about the foundation that would preserve thousands of endangered tongues. Then it was Marcus's turn to speak. He walked to the podium slowly. The applause was deafening, but Marcus barely heard it. He was looking at Maya, at Rachel, at Victoria, at all the people whose lives had intersected with Elena's and been changed by her. I'm not a professor, Marcus began. I'm a janitor. I clean offices. I mop floors. I take out trash. And until 6 months ago I thought that's all I would ever be. The room was silent. But my wife saw something different. She saw someone who could learn, who could grow, who could become more than what the world expected him to be. So she taught me. Every night for 8 years, she sat with me at our kitchen table and opened up worlds I never knew existed. Marcus's voice caught. She taught me Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, Sanskrit. She taught me that language isn't just vocabulary, it's the way human beings reach across time to touch each other. It's how a priest in ancient Babylon can speak to a student in modern Seattle. It's how the dead can talk to the living. He looked at Maya. My wife is dead. Cancer took her body, but her voice is still here. In every translation, her algorithm produces. In every language, her foundation preserves. In every student who will sit in this chair and learn what she knew. Marcus pulled out Elena's notebook, worn, battered, held together with love. This notebook contains everything my wife understood about language. It's worth millions of dollars. But its real value isn't the money. It's the proof that one person working alone believing in something bigger than themselves can change the world. He held up the notebook. Elena Johnson was my wife. She was Maya's mother. She was a translator who worked through chemotherapy because she loved her work more than she feared her death. And she left this legacy for all of us. Marcus set the notebook on the podium. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach. I'm going to research. I'm going to continue my wife's work. And every single day, I'm going to remember that I'm standing here not because I'm special, but because someone believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. He looked out at the crowd. My wife used to say that the greatest inheritance isn't money or property. It's the courage to stand for what's right when standing costs everything. Marcus's voice broke. She gave me that courage. Now I'm going to spend the rest of my life passing it on. The room erupted in applause. Maya jumped up and ran to the stage. Marcus caught her in his arms and held her tight. Mommy's watching, Maya whispered. I can feel her. I can too, baby, Marcus whispered back. I can too. And in that moment, surrounded by applause and tears and the overwhelming presence of a love that death couldn't diminish, Marcus Johnson finally understood what Elena had been trying to tell him all along. He wasn't just a janitor. He was exactly who she'd always known he could be. 1 year later, Marcus stood in front of the Elena Johnson Translation Foundation headquarters. The building wasn't massive, just 3 floors in downtown Seattle, but every inch of it meant something. The walls were lined with photographs of translators from around the world. The lobby featured a digital display showing real-time translations being performed using Elena's algorithm. And above the entrance in letters that caught the morning light was his wife's name. Maya squeezed his hand. Are you nervous, Daddy? A little. Mommy used to say, butterflies in your stomach mean something important is about to happen. Marcus looked down at his daughter. 9 years old now, growing so fast, wearing Elena's butterfly necklace every single day. She was right about that, Marcus said. She was right about a lot of things. Today was the Foundation's official 1-year anniversary. Press from around the world had gathered. Linguists, academics, politicians, everyone wanted to see what Elena Johnson's legacy had become. Rachel Morgan met them at the door. We're ready when you are, she said. The auditorium is packed, standing room only. How many were? 300 in the room. Another 2 million watching the live stream. Rachel smiled. Your wife's algorithm has been used to document 47 endangered languages in the past year. 47 languages that would have died without her work. Marcus felt his chest tighten. 47 languages. 47 communities whose voices would now survive. She would have loved this, he said quietly. She does love it. Rachel touched his arm. Wherever she is, she's watching. I'm sure of it. They walked through the lobby together. Staff members waved as Marcus passed. Students from the university's linguistics program called out greetings. Everyone knew his face now. The janitor who had become a professor. The husband who had fought for his wife's legacy. But Marcus wasn't thinking about fame or recognition. He was thinking about Elena sitting at their kitchen table, night after night, teaching him languages he never thought he'd understand. Everything he had now, everything Maya had, everything the Foundation represented, it all started at that table. The auditorium fell silent as Marcus walked onto the stage. He looked out at the crowd. Faces from every continent. Languages from every corner of the world. All gathered to celebrate a woman who had died believing her work would change lives. 1 year ago, Marcus began. I walked into Global Link Translation Services with my wife's briefcase and a prayer. I didn't know if anyone would listen. I didn't know if anyone would care. All I knew was that Elena Johnson, my wife, my partner, my teacher, had created something extraordinary, and she deserved to be remembered. The room was perfectly still. Today, her algorithm is being used by universities on 6 continents. Her foundation has funded research into languages that haven't been spoken in generations. Her name is attached to work that will outlive all of us. Marcus paused. But that's not what matters most. He looked at Maya sitting in the front row with Rachel. What matters most is that she did it for love. Not for money, not for recognition, for love. She wanted to make sure her family would be okay after she was gone. She wanted Maya to grow up knowing her mother's life meant something. She wanted me to see that I was capable of more than cleaning floors. Marcus's voice cracked. And she was right. She was right about everything. He pulled out Elena's notebook, still worn, still battered, still the most precious thing he owned. This notebook contains my wife's life's work, but it also contains something else. On the last page, there's a message she wrote the night she died. I've never read it publicly before. I've never shared it with anyone except Maya. The audience leaned forward. But today feels like the right time. Today, surrounded by all of you people who believe in preserving voices, in honoring legacies, in making sure no one is forgotten. Today feels like the moment to finally share what Elena left behind. Marcus opened the notebook to the last page. My dearest Marcus. He read, his voice steady, despite the tears forming in his eyes. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. But before I go, I need you to know something. You were never just a janitor. You were never ordinary. You were the most extraordinary person I ever met, because you loved me without condition, without limit, without ever asking for anything in return. The audience was crying now. Marcus could see tissues appearing throughout the room. I'm leaving you the algorithm because I know you'll use it wisely. But I'm also leaving you something more important. I'm leaving you permission. Permission to be great. Permission to fail. Permission to become whoever you want to be. Marcus had to stop. The words were blurring through his tears. My only regret is that I won't be there to see it. But I'll be watching, baby. I promise you that. Every time you translate something beautiful, every time Maya laughs, every time you look at the stars and wonder if I'm there, I am. I always will be. He looked up at the ceiling as if he could see her. The algorithm is just code. You are my real legacy. You and Maya. Everything I ever built was really about building you. Marcus closed the notebook. All my love forever and always. Your Elena. The silence in the room was absolute. Then Maya stood up. She walked to the stage slowly, her blue dress swaying, the butterfly necklace catching the light. She climbed the steps and took her father's hand. Can I say something? She asked, looking up at him. Marcus nodded. He couldn't speak. Maya turned to face the crowd. 9 years old. Small enough that someone had to adjust the microphone for her, but her voice was strong. My mommy was sick for a long time before she died. Sometimes she was so tired she couldn't get out of bed. But she never stopped teaching Daddy. Even when she had to rest between sentences, she kept going. She'd say, one more language, Marcus, just one more. Maya squeezed her father's hand. I used to ask her why she worked so hard when she was so sick, and she told me something I never forgot. She said, Maya, the only thing that matters is what you leave behind. Money goes away, fame goes away. But the people you teach, the love you share, the lives you change, those things last forever. The audience was openly weeping now. My mommy changed my daddy's life. She made him believe he could be smart even when everyone else said he was just a janitor. She gave him words and languages nobody else speaks anymore. And now he teaches those words to other people, who will teach them to other people, who will teach them to other people. Maya looked at the crowd with Elena's eyes. That's what forever looks like. That's what my mommy built. Not just an algorithm. Not just a foundation. A chain of people helping people that will never end. She turned to her father. Mommy said I was her heart. She said you were her brain. And she said together we would change the world. Maya smiled through her tears. I think we did, Daddy. I think she's really proud of us. Marcus pulled his daughter into his arms and held her so tight he thought he might never let go. The applause started slowly. 1 person, then 10, then 100. Then the whole auditorium was on its feet, clapping and crying and cheering for a woman who had died believing her work would matter. And in that moment, surrounded by the proof of Elena's legacy, Marcus finally understood what his wife had been trying to tell him all along. Love doesn't die. It transforms. It becomes something new, something bigger, something that outlives the person who created it. Elena was gone, but she was also everywhere, in Maya's smile, in Marcus's words, in every language the foundation preserved, in every life it touched. She was everywhere, and she always would be. The reception afterward was overwhelming. People lined up to shake Marcus's hand, to take photos with Maya, to share stories about how Elena's algorithm had changed their research. A woman from Kenya explained that her tribe's language, spoken by only 300 people, was now being documented for the first time in history. A man from Brazil talked about indigenous dialects that had been on the verge of extinction before the Foundation stepped in. A professor from Japan described how the algorithm had solved translation problems that had stumped academics for decades. Marcus listened to each story, thanked each person, tried to absorb the magnitude of what Elena had created. But his mind kept drifting to one person in the crowd. Victoria Sterling stood in the corner alone, watching everything unfold. She wasn't dressed in designer clothes anymore, just simple black pants and a gray blouse. No jewelry, no entourage. Just a woman trying to be invisible at an event celebrating someone she had once tried to destroy. Marcus excused himself from the reception line and walked toward her. Victoria straightened as he approached, like she was expecting to be asked to leave. "Mr. Johnson." "Victoria." They stood in silence for a moment. Two people who had been enemies and were now something else. Neither of them quite knew what. "This is remarkable," Victoria said, finally gesturing at the crowd. "Everything Elena built, everything you've continued, it's remarkable. You helped. Behind the scenes, where I belong. You raised $2 million in private donations last quarter. You secured partnerships with universities on 4 continents. You convinced 3 governments to fund language preservation programs." Marcus looked at her steadily. "That's not nothing." "It's not enough." Victoria's voice was quiet. "It will never be enough to make up for what I did." "Maybe not. But Elena didn't believe in keeping score. She believed in forward motion, in becoming better than you were yesterday." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back, but not before Marcus saw. "I still dream about her," Victoria whispered. "Every night. She's always working at her desk and I walk in, and she looks up and says, 'Why?'" Victoria stared at him. "How did you know?" "Because I have the same dream sometimes, and I think I finally understand what she's asking." Marcus put his hand on Victoria's shoulder. "She's not asking why you hurt her. She's asking why you stopped believing in yourself. Why you traded your passion for power. Why you forgot who you were." Victoria's composure cracked completely. Tears streamed down her face. "I don't know how to answer her." "Yes, you do. You answer her by doing what you're doing now. By working without recognition. By helping without taking credit. By becoming the person you were before you lost yourself." Marcus squeezed her shoulder. "Elena would have forgiven you. She did forgive you. The question is whether you can forgive yourself." Victoria wiped her eyes. "I don't know if I can." "Then keep working until you figure it out. That's all any of us can do." Rachel appeared at Marcus's side. "Sorry to interrupt. There's someone here who wants to meet you." "Who?" "Dr. James Morrison." Rachel's voice held a note of awe. "The archaeologist who discovered the Morrison document. The one you translated on live television." Marcus turned. An elderly man was making his way through the crowd, white hair, weathered face, eyes that sparkled with intelligence. He moved slowly, leaning on a cane, but there was nothing frail about his presence. "Dr. Morrison," Marcus said, extending his hand. "It's an honor." "The honor is mine, Mr. Johnson." Morrison's grip was surprisingly strong. "I've been wanting to meet you since I saw that broadcast a year ago. What you did with my document, what your wife's algorithm makes possible, it's beyond anything I imagined when I dug those tablets out of the sand 40 years ago. Your discovery started everything. My discovery was just artifacts. Your wife turned them into voices." Morrison's eyes grew distant. "I spent 30 years trying to understand what those tablets said. 30 years of guessing, of arguing with colleagues, of never being quite sure. And you translated them in an hour." "Elena translated them. I just spoke the words." "You did more than speak. You understood. I watched that broadcast a dozen times, and every time I saw something new, connections between languages, I never noticed patterns. I never identified." Morrison shook his head in wonder. "Your wife was a genius, but she was also a teacher. She passed her genius on to you." She believed I could learn. That was her real gift. That's the gift of all great teachers. They see potential where others see limitations. Morrison reached into his jacket and pulled out a small object, a clay tablet no bigger than a playing card covered in ancient symbols. I want you to have this. Marcus took the tablet carefully. It was heavier than it looked, warm from Morrison's pocket. This was the first piece I ever found, Morrison explained. The piece that started my career. I've carried it with me for 40 years as a reminder of why I do this work. I can't accept this. You can. You must. Morrison's voice was firm. That tablet has been waiting for someone who could truly understand it. Your wife was that person, and now you are. Marcus looked at the symbols. Ancient Sumerian, a dialect he now recognized as easily as English. It says, "Knowledge is the light that never dims." Marcus translated, "Pass it on, or darkness wins." Morrison smiled. Exactly right. And that's exactly what you've done. What Elena's Foundation does every day. You pass on the light. Marcus held the tablet against his chest. 40 years of Morrison's career. 8 years of Elena's teaching. 1 year of his own impossible journey. All of it contained in a piece of clay small enough to fit in his palm. "Thank you," Marcus whispered. "I'll treasure this." "Don't treasure it. Use it." Morrison gripped his cane and turned to leave. That's what artifacts are for. Not to be locked away and protected, but to be shared, to be understood, to keep speaking across the centuries. He walked away, leaving Marcus holding the tablet like it was made of gold. The event ended at midnight. Marcus and Maya walked out into the Seattle night together, hand in hand. The streets were quiet. Stars were visible through breaks in the clouds, rare for Seattle, rare and beautiful. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby." "Do you think Mommy can see the stars from where she is?" Marcus looked up at the sky. At the infinite points of light, each one a sun, each one possibly warming planets he would never visit. "I think she is the stars' baby. I think she's up there shining down on us, making sure we can always find our way home." Maya nodded solemnly. "I talk to her sometimes, at night when I can't sleep. I tell her about school and my friends and what I'm learning." "What does she say back?" "She doesn't say words, but I feel her." Maya touched her chest. "Right here, like a warm hug from the inside." Marcus pulled his daughter close. "I feel her too, every day." They walked in silence for a while, passing through pools of streetlight and shadow. The foundation building grew smaller behind them, but its presence stayed with Marcus, the weight of responsibility, the privilege of continuing Elena's work. "Daddy." "Yeah." "What's going to happen now?" Marcus thought about the question, about everything that had led to this moment, and everything that would come after. "Now we keep going," he said. "We teach, we learn, we preserve the voices that would otherwise be lost. We build something Elena would be proud of. And then we pass it on. Like Dr. Morrison said, like the tablet says. We pass on the light so darkness doesn't win." Maya was quiet for a moment. "Mommy picked good," she said finally. "Picked good. When she picked you, to teach, to love, to leave everything to." Maya looked up at him with Elena's eyes. "She could have picked anyone. She was so smart she could have married a scientist or a professor or anyone. But she picked you, a janitor. Does that bother you?" "No." Maya shook her head firmly. "It makes me proud, because it means she saw what was inside you before anyone else did. She saw who you really were, not who the world said you were." Marcus stopped walking, knelt down so he was eye level with his daughter. "You know what your mommy used to say about you?" "What?" "She said you were the reason she fought so hard. Not the algorithm, not the recognition, not any of it. You. She said every time she wanted to give up, she looked at you and remembered why she couldn't." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Really? Really, you were her heart baby, her reason for everything, and she absolutely knew that you were going to do something amazing with your life. Something that would make her prouder than she ever thought possible. How could she know that? Because she could see the future. Not literally, but she understood patterns. Remember, language patterns, thought patterns, people patterns. And she saw something in you, Maya. Something bright and strong and unstoppable. Maya threw her arms around his neck. Marcus held her tight there on the Seattle sidewalk, under stars that felt closer than they'd ever been. I miss her, Daddy. I miss her too, baby. Every single day. Does it ever stop hurting? Marcus thought about the question, about the pain that had lived in his chest for 18 months, now sharp. Some days, dull others, but always present. No, he said honestly. It doesn't stop, but it changes. It becomes part of you like a scar that tells a story. And eventually the story becomes more important than the pain. Maya pulled back and looked at him. What's our story? Marcus smiled. Our story is about a woman who loved so hard and worked so much that she changed the world, and about the family she left behind who promised to keep changing it. That's a good story. The best story I know. They walked the rest of the way home in comfortable silence. The apartment was dark when they arrived. Mrs. Chen had left hours ago, but it felt warm anyway, full of memories, full of Elena's presence even now. Maya went to bed without being asked. She was exhausted from the event, from the emotions, from being 9 years old and carrying the weight of her mother's legacy. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, Elena's table, where she had taught him everything, where she had changed his life one language at a time. He pulled out the Morrison tablet and set it in front of him. Then he pulled out Elena's notebook and opened it to her final message. He read the words again, even though he knew them by heart. You were never just a janitor. You were never ordinary. You were the most extraordinary person I ever met. Marcus traced his finger over Elena's handwriting, the loops and curves that were uniquely hers, the physical proof that she had existed, had loved, had believed in him. I did it, baby, he whispered to the empty kitchen. I did everything you asked. I fought for Maya. I built the foundation. I became a teacher. I made them see me, and I made them see you. The apartment was silent, but Marcus could feel her there somehow. A presence that defied logic, a love that defied death. I don't know if I'll ever stop missing you. I don't know if the hurt will ever completely fade, but I know this, you made me who I am. Everything I have, everything Maya has, everything the foundation does, it all started with you. He picked up the Morrison tablet. Knowledge is the light that never dims. Pass it on, or darkness wins. Marcus set the tablet next to Elena's notebook. Ancient and modern, past and present. The wisdom of civilizations gone, and the wisdom of one woman who had refused to be forgotten. I'll keep passing it on, Marcus promised. For the rest of my life, every language, every student, every life the foundation touches, I'll pass on the light you gave me. He closed his eyes and let the silence wrap around him. And in that silence, he heard something. Not words exactly, not a voice, but a feeling warm and certain and impossibly clear. Pride. Elena was proud of him. She had always been proud of him, even when he couldn't see it himself. And now, from wherever she was among the stars, in Maya's smile, in the languages that would never die because of her work, she was watching. She was proud. Marcus opened his eyes. The kitchen was still empty. The apartment was still quiet. Nothing had changed. But everything had changed. He was Marcus Johnson, husband, father, professor, guardian of 47 languages and counting, keeper of Elena's legacy, and he was just getting started. The next morning, Marcus woke up before dawn. He made coffee, watched the sun rise over Seattle, and prepared for his first class of the new semester. 42 students had enrolled in Introduction to Ancient Languages, a record number drawn by the story that had captured the world's attention. Maya found him at the kitchen table reviewing his notes. "Big day?" she asked, climbing into his lap. "Every day is a big day now. Because of Mommy. Because of all of us. Because we have work to do." Maya nodded seriously. "I have work to do too. We're starting a new project at school about family history. I'm going to tell everyone about Mommy." "What are you going to say?" "That she was the smartest person in the world. That she taught my daddy everything he knows. That she loved us so much she worked until her heart gave out." Maya touched the butterfly necklace. "And that she's still with us. Every day. Forever." Marcus kissed his daughter's forehead. "That's exactly right." They walked out of the apartment together into the Seattle morning, into the future Elena had built for them. The university was buzzing when Marcus arrived. Students streamed past, heading to classes, meeting friends, living the lives Elena had never gotten to live. But her presence was everywhere in the building named after her in the algorithm they used in the foundation that bore her name. Marcus walked to his classroom and opened the door. 42 faces looked up at him. Young faces. Eager faces. Faces that reminded him of himself years ago, sitting at a kitchen table believing he was nothing special. "Good morning," Marcus said. "My name is Professor Johnson, and I'm going to teach you something my wife taught me." He picked up a piece of chalk and wrote on the board, "Knowledge is the light that never dims. Pass it on, or darkness wins." He turned to face his students. This is what Elena Johnson believed. This is what she died believing. And this is what we're going to prove together, that voices don't have to die, that languages don't have to be lost, that everything that matters can survive if we care enough to preserve it. Marcus set down the chalk. "Now, let's begin." And in that classroom, surrounded by students who had come to learn what Elena had taught him, Marcus Johnson finally understood the full truth of his wife's final gift. She hadn't just given him languages. She hadn't just given him an algorithm. She hadn't just given him the tools to build a foundation. She had given him a purpose, a reason to live, a way to honor her memory that would outlast them all. And now, standing at the front of that classroom, beginning a lesson that would ripple outward through generations, Marcus knew with absolute certainty that Elena's legacy was secure. Not because of the foundation, not because of the algorithm, not because of the languages preserved, or the money raised, or the recognition earned, because of love. Love that had survived death. Love that had transformed a janitor into a professor. Love that had given an 8-year-old girl the strength to stand on a stage and speak truth to power. Love that would echo through time, touching lives Elena would never meet. Changing futures she would never see, lighting candles in darkness she would never know. That was the real legacy. That was what Elena had built. And that was what Marcus would protect with every breath in his body for as long as he lived. Because some things are stronger than death. Because some loves are eternal. And because Elena Johnson, a translator, a mother, a wife, a genius, had proven once and for all that the smallest voices can change the world. That broken things can still be beautiful, and that the light we pass on is the only light that truly never dies.